Hi folks, Max from GalaxyS2Root.com. Today I'm going to show you how to install Android 4.4 KitKat ROM on the Galaxy S2 GTI 9100. Now, Android 4.4 KitKat ROMs are slightly different from regular ICS or Jelly Bean ROMs because they require the latest clock ROM recovery. Now, the way this phone works is that recovery is part of the kernel, and the kernel is part of the ROM. So every time you flash a new ROM, it's going to come with its own recovery. So depending on what kind of ROM you've installed, you might not have the latest clock ROM recovery, which is the case for most customers' ROMs right now. But basically, if you have clock ROM recovery 6.0.4.3 or higher, then you can use that. But if you don't have that, let me show you how to do it. Basically, go ahead and download the KitKat ROM you're going to install. Put it on your phone first. And also you'll need to download CWM-KitKat compatible-i9100 zip. Put that zip file. I'll have the zip files on my site and also step-by-step tutorial. So make sure you have it on your phone. Then turn your phone off and then go ahead and boot into Clock My Recovery or Tor Recovery, whatever you have, by holding down Volume Up, Center Home, and Power. And of course you already have to be rooted. And if you're rooted, chances are you already have some kind of custom recovery, such as Clock Recovery or Tor Recovery. Now, I do have the latest version here, but just for the purposes of showing you, I'm going to show it to you. But there we go. I've got Clock 6.0.4.5. So whatever version you have, this will update you to this one I have. So go ahead and go to Install Zip. Install zip from SD card 0 or SD card 1. I have it in my SD card, so I'm going to choose SD card 1. And I have it in my download folder. Oh, you know what? Sorry. I must have it. I didn't download it. Let me copy it over real quick. Sorry, that's a mistake on my part. I forgot to copy it into the SD card. And I do also have a tar file for those of you who might not have a recovery. There are times when you can end up with a ROM with no recovery, or maybe you're completely stock. Then you can go ahead and grab the tar file. It's the same version as a zip file, but you can flash it with Odin. So let me actually go ahead and do this. You can see better anyways. There you go. And I'm going to go ahead and install zip. I'm going to choose SD card 1, that's my SD card. SD card 0 is your internal storage. I'm going to go to my download folder, and there it is, CWM KitKat compatible-i9100.zip. Now, since this is Clock My Recovery, but it is also a kernel, it's basically a kernel I pulled from the latest CM 10.2. You can also just flash CM 10.2, but that's going to, take a lot longer time, so that's why I only extract the kernel so you can just install the kernel only. Go ahead and install it. Once you install it, whatever ROM you have on probably is not going to be compatible with this kernel unless you have CM 10.2. So only do this when you're installing a new ROM. And when that is done installing, simply go back and go to Advanced and reboot Recovery. All right. And if you have Torb or you have the older version of Clock My Recovery, this will get you on 6.0.4.5, which is compatible and will let you install Android 4.4 custom ROMs. If you try to do it with older version, you'll get fail message. There we go. So it looks the same, but it should look different for you guys coming from another ROM. So next is pretty much the same. Just do a data wipe factory reset, and we're going to install the ROM. And also Google Apps are required for most Android 4.4 KitKat AOSP ROMs. So we're going to go ahead and install those and reboot. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and install zip. Install zip from SD card 1. And I'm going to be installing CM11 actually. This is one of the earlier versions, but it is pretty stable, I would say. I'm going to go ahead and install that CM11 for the GTI 9100. And when this is done, we're going to install Google Apps, reboot, and we should be all good to go. And I'll be back. This is done. This should take another minute or two. And for those of you with AT&T Galaxy S2, I'll also have a version, same versions for Galaxy S2 SGHI 777. So just grab those files for installing the Clock My Recovery. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same, exactly the same. That is done installing the ROM. Next, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to my SD card one here. And I'm going to go ahead and install the Google Apps for Android 4.4. For Android 4.4, you have to install Android 4.4 compatible Google Apps. Otherwise, you'll probably get a lot of force closes. You will fail pretty much. Or you'll end up in a boot loop. Who knows what can happen. And this should take another minute or two. And also for AT&T Galaxy S2, it should be coming soon, Android 4.4. And we're just starting to see developers porting the source code. Basically, they're taking the Android open source and they're actually compiling it with a new ROM. So it's going to take time. They're going to have to find bugs. I mean, the major bugs with Android 4.4 right now for ported versions is with the camera and video replay. But if that works, most of the time everything else is working. So go ahead and go back and reboot system now, and you should be all good to go. And this is how you can install it. Now, if you fail for some reason, if you end up in a boot loop, sometimes it happens to me, 1 out of 100 flashes. What you can do is repeat this process, but before you do data wipe factory reset, before that step, go to mounts and storage in Clockwork My Recovery. There's an option to format/system. Format/system, that will erase all the system files, whereas regular data wipe, it only deletes the data partition, whereas the system, it will wipe the system. And usually that will clear out those boot loops. And if that doesn't work, I usually try just one more time. And if it fails twice, it usually means something wrong with the ROM, or it could be some other problem. Maybe you're using the wrong recovery, but it doesn't usually happen. But that's my thought analysis when I'm installing ROM, just to let you know. Anyway, I'll be back when this is done. Should be done shortly. And boom shakalaka, I was able to boot it fully, working just fine now. Anyway, that's how you can install a KitKat ROM on the Galaxy S2, and should also work on the AT&T Galaxy S2 i777. Just use the correct recovery. I'll have different files for the GTI 9100 and also the AT&T SGH i777. Anyway, if this video has helped you install a KitKat ROM on your Galaxy S2, don't forget to subscribe to my email list at galaxys2root.com. And thanks guys for watching my video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and the subscribe button below here to get more cool ROM reviews, tips, tricks, and more. And also check out Video of the Week over here if you haven't yet. And as always, stay on Android.